The camera pans across the vast, rugged landscape of Yellowstone National Park. Steam rises from geothermal features as the morning sun casts long shadows across the wilderness. A park ranger's voice narrates over footage of the visitor center opening for the day. Eleanor Chambers arrived at Yellowstone National Park on June 12, 2022. According to park records, she checked into the Canyon Lodge at 3:47 p.m., presenting identification and a credit card at the front desk. The 34-year-old botanist from the University of Michigan had reserved a room for 7 nights. Security camera footage showed her wearing hiking boots, khaki pants, and a navy blue waterproof jacket. She carried a green backpack with a University of Michigan logo patch. The desk clerk described her as friendly but tired from the drive. Eleanor signed the guest register and received room key 217. Park records indicate Eleanor had visited Yellowstone 3 times previously between 2018 and 2021. Her research focused on rare alpine lichens that grow in high-elevation environments within the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. According to colleagues at the university, Eleanor was considered one of the leading experts in her field, with 16 published papers on lichen taxonomy and ecology. Dr. Martin Weiss, her department chair, stated that Eleanor had secured a research grant to document lichen populations in remote areas of the park's northern range. On the morning of June 13th, Eleanor ate breakfast at the Canyon Lodge restaurant at 6:22 a.m., according to her credit card statement. The server recalled Eleanor studying maps at her table while eating oatmeal and drinking black coffee. Eleanor then purchased trail mix, 2 energy bars, and a liter of water from the general store at 7:05 a.m. The cashier remembered Eleanor mentioning she planned to hike in the Mount Washburn area that day. At 7:33 a.m., parking lot security cameras recorded Eleanor's blue Honda CR-V leaving the Canyon Lodge parking area. At 7:56 a.m., the same vehicle was identified entering the Dunraven Pass parking lot near the Mount Washburn trailhead. Park visitor Deborah Linden photographed the sunrise at Dunraven Pass at 8:04 a.m. The background of Linden's photograph showed a woman matching Eleanor's description adjusting her backpack beside a blue Honda CR-V. This represents the last confirmed sighting of Eleanor Chambers. At 9:17 p.m. that evening, night security at Canyon Lodge noted that Eleanor had not returned to her room. This was not considered unusual, as guests often stayed out late during summer months to observe wildlife or night skies. However, when housekeeping staff entered room 217 at 11:42 a.m. on June 14th, they found the bed had not been slept in, and Eleanor's luggage remained unpacked. The room contained her suitcase, laptop computer, cell phone charger, and toiletry bag. The cell phone was not present. At 1:15 p.m. on June 14th, lodge management contacted park rangers to report a possible missing guest. Rangers Charles Dawson and Tina Rodriguez located Eleanor's vehicle at the Dunraven Pass parking area at 2:37 p.m. The Honda CR-V was locked with no signs of disturbance. A park-issued map was visible on the passenger seat with several areas circled in red marker. The vehicle parking ticket displayed on the dashboard indicated entry at 7:56 a.m. on June 13th. Park Ranger Dispatch initiated standard search protocols at 3:05 p.m. 4 ground teams with search dogs began canvassing the Mount Washburn area and connecting trails. A helicopter with thermal imaging equipment was deployed at 4:22 p.m. Weather conditions were clear with temperatures ranging from 72 degrees to 45 degrees overnight. Search efforts continued until sunset at 9:13 p.m. with no results. The search resumed at 5:30 a.m. on June 15th with additional personnel from local county sheriff departments and volunteer search and rescue teams. A total of 47 personnel and 6 canine units participated. The search area expanded to include off-trail zones and ravines within a 5-mile radius of the Dunraven Pass trailhead. Despite exhaustive efforts, no signs of Eleanor were discovered. Search dogs failed to establish a scent trail beyond the parking lot area. According to search coordinator Lieutenant Derek Holman, the dog's inability to track a scent from the parking lot was unusual. It suggested either that the subject never actually entered the trail system from that location or that something had interfered with scent preservation. Lieutenant Holman noted that the asphalt parking surface and high tourist traffic may have compromised tracking conditions. On June 16th, FBI Special Agent Regina Carter joined the investigation at the request of the National Park Service. A forensic team examined Eleanor's vehicle and hotel room. The vehicle contained no evidence of struggle or blood. Eleanor's fingerprints were found throughout the vehicle, along with partial prints from the rental company staff. The hotel room computer was analyzed, revealing Eleanor had conducted research on several remote areas of the park, including locations not on standard tourist maps. Internet search history from Eleanor's laptop showed queries about caves and underground features in Yellowstone's northern range. Email correspondence with Dr. Landon Pierce, a geologist at Montana State University, discussed unexplored cavern systems and potential for undocumented subterranean environments hosting extremophile organisms. Dr. Pierce, when interviewed, confirmed that Eleanor had contacted him regarding information about unmapped cave systems that might contain unique lichen species. The search for Eleanor Chambers continued for 17 days, involving over 200 personnel, helicopter surveillance, drone mapping, and infrared technology. The operation covered more than 74 square miles of mountainous terrain. No physical evidence of Eleanor was discovered. No backpack, clothing items, or personal effects were located. Her cell phone never reconnected to any cellular network. No financial activity occurred on her accounts after June 13, 2022. On July 3, 2022, the active search was officially suspended. Eleanor Chambers was classified as a missing person. Her case file remained open with the National Park Service, FBI, and local law enforcement agencies. The investigation yielded multiple theories, including animal attack, accidental fall in remote terrain, intentional disappearance, or criminal activity. Without physical evidence, investigators could not establish which scenario had occurred. Eleanor's parents, Robert and Catherine Chambers, of Lansing, Michigan, made repeated public appeals for information. They established a $50,000 reward for evidence leading to Eleanor's location. The Chambers family hired private investigator Marcus Delgado, who conducted additional searches during the summers of 2022 and 2023. These efforts produced no new information. The National Park Service installed additional warning signs at the Dunraven Pass trailhead, advising hikers of the dangers of solo hiking and encouraging the use of satellite communication devices. Eleanor's disappearance was featured on 2 television programs about missing persons in national parks. Despite national media coverage, no credible tips emerged regarding her whereabouts. 3 years passed. The investigation file for Eleanor Chambers' case UREYNP-MP 2222-17 remained open but inactive. Periodic database searches for her identification or financial activity yielded no results. The Chambers family continued to maintain a website dedicated to finding their daughter, but public interest in the case gradually diminished. Yellowstone National Park recorded 17 additional missing persons reports between June 2022 and April 2025, all of which were resolved through successful search and rescue operations or by locating individuals who had left the park voluntarily. On May 28, 2025, at approximately 10:15 a.m., wildlife biologist Dr. Sandra Newman was conducting a field survey of wolf territory in a remote northern section of Yellowstone, approximately 13.7 miles from the Dunraven Pass parking area where Eleanor's vehicle had been found. Dr. Newman was documenting scat samples when she observed what appeared to be a human figure watching her from a ridge approximately 90 meters away. According to Dr. Newman's statement, the figure was standing perfectly still at the edge of a rocky outcropping. At first, I thought it might be another researcher, but something about the stillness seemed unusual. When I raised my binoculars, I saw it was a woman with extremely long, matted hair wearing what looked like tattered, dirty clothing. When she realized I was looking directly at her, she immediately retreated into the rocks and disappeared. Dr. Newman reported the encounter to park rangers at 2:37 p.m. upon returning to Cellular Range. Rangers initially classified the report as a possible encounter with a backcountry hiker or unauthorized camper. However, the location was more than 7 miles from the nearest marked trail and in an area closed to public access due to sensitive wolf denning habitat. On May 29th, Rangers Michael Torres and Samantha Blackwood visited the location described by Dr. Newman. At the ridge where the figure had been spotted, they discovered a narrow crevice in the rock face partially concealed by brush. The opening measured approximately 0.7 meters wide and 1.2 meters tall. Fresh footprints in the soft earth near the entrance indicated recent human activity. The rangers documented the site but did not enter the opening due to safety protocols requiring specialized equipment for cave exploration. On May 30th, a team including Rangers Torres and Blackwood, geologist Dr. Evan Chen, and 2 members of the park's technical rescue team returned to the site. Using proper safety equipment, they entered the narrow opening, which widened into a natural limestone cave system. Approximately 23 meters inside, they discovered evidence of human habitation, including a crude sleeping area made from gathered pine boughs and grasses, several primitive tools fashioned from stone and wood, and a collection of plastic water bottles that appeared to have been gathered from park trash receptacles. According to Ranger Torres, the living area showed signs of long-term occupation. There were distinct areas for sleeping, food storage, and waste. Small bones from rodents and birds suggested the occupant had been hunting small game. Most notably, we found a cache of personal items in a natural alcove, including a driver's license belonging to Eleanor Chambers. The team immediately retreated from the cave and established a secure perimeter. FBI Special Agent Regina Carter, who had participated in the original investigation 3 years earlier, was contacted and arrived at the site the following morning. A specialized team including behavioral analysts, medical personnel, and cave exploration experts was assembled. On May 31st at 10:45 a.m., the team re-entered the cave system with recording equipment and medical supplies. Approximately 47 meters beyond the initial habitation area, in a larger chamber with a ceiling height of approximately 3 meters, they encountered a woman matching Eleanor Chambers' description. According to the official report, the woman was severely malnourished, with a body weight estimated at 92 pounds. Her hair extended below her waist and was heavily matted. She wore the tattered remains of what appeared to be the same clothing Eleanor had been wearing when last seen, supplemented with crude garments made from animal hide. Special Agent Carter's report stated, "The subject was in a severely agitated state when discovered. She retreated to the far corner of the cave chamber and exhibited defensive posturing. When addressed by name, she was addressed by Spionbitsains. She showed no sign of recognition or response. The subject made no vocalizations beyond harsh breathing sounds. When medical personnel attempted to approach, she became highly distressed, scratching at the cave walls and attempting to retreat further into the cave system. After 4 hours of careful approach techniques led by FBI behavioral specialist Dr. Lisa Wharton, the team was able to administer a mild sedative using a DART system typically employed for wildlife management. Once sedated, Eleanor was secured to a transport stretcher and evacuated from the cave system. She was airlifted directly to Bozeman Health Deaconess Regional Medical Center, where she was admitted to the secure psychiatric unit under 24-hour observation. Medical examination confirmed the identity of the woman as Eleanor Chambers through dental records and fingerprint matching. Physical examination revealed severe malnourishment, vitamin D deficiency, muscle atrophy, and numerous healed fractures consistent with falls or injuries sustained in a cave environment. Her skin showed evidence of fungal infections and prolonged lack of exposure to sunlight. Blood tests indicated elevated levels of certain minerals consistent with the cave's geological composition. Most notably, Eleanor displayed complete absence of verbal communication. Neurologist Dr. Amelia Patel reported, "The patient demonstrates physical capability for speech. Vocal cord examination shows no damage that would prevent verbalization. However, she produces no words or language-like vocalizations, only grunts, breathing sounds, and occasional high-pitched keening when distressed. When presented with writing materials, she showed no interest or comprehension of their purpose. When shown photographs of her family, she displayed no recognition." A thorough forensic examination of the cave system was conducted over the next 2 weeks. The cave extended more than 300 meters into the mountainside, connecting to a network of narrow tunnels and chambers. Evidence suggested Eleanor had primarily inhabited the first 2 chambers, but had explored deeper sections. Investigators documented a sophisticated system for collecting water from natural seepage, storage areas for preserved food, and tools that showed increasing refinement over time, suggesting a developing knowledge of survival techniques. Of particular interest to investigators was a section of cave wall in the second chamber that contained hundreds of markings scratched into the soft limestone surface. These markings appeared to be a primitive calendar system with groups of 5 vertical lines crossed by a horizontal line to indicate 5-day periods. Forensic analysis suggested the markings covered approximately 3 years, corresponding to Eleanor's time in the cave. The most recent markings were dated to approximately 2 days before her discovery. No evidence of other human presence was found in the cave system. All fingerprints, DNA samples, and artifacts were determined to belong solely to Eleanor. No signs of restraint, confinement, or outside intervention were discovered. The technical assessment concluded that Eleanor had entered the cave voluntarily and had survived alone for the entire 3-year period. Eleanor's parents arrived at the medical center on June 1, 2025. According to Dr. James Mercer, the attending psychiatrist, the reunion was clinically significant but emotionally challenging. Ms. Chambers showed no obvious recognition of her parents. She remained nonverbal and displayed signs of acute distress when they attempted physical contact. After 15 minutes, we terminated the visit due to Eleanor's elevated heart rate and respiration. Psychological evaluation continued over the following weeks. Eleanor remained completely nonverbal. She refused to use writing implements or communication boards. She demonstrated extreme agitation when exposed to bright lights or loud sounds. She would only consume raw foods and water, refusing cooked meals. During the night, staff observed that she would sleep only when the room was completely darkened, and would position herself in corners rather than on the bed provided. Dr. Mercer's evaluation stated, "The patient exhibits characteristics consistent with profound psychological trauma combined with adaptive behaviors developed for cave survival. She demonstrates hypervigilance, sensory sensitivity, and complete social withdrawal. Most notably, she displays no interest in returning to human society or communication. When presented with opportunities to communicate her wishes or experiences, she actively refuses engagement." On June 27, 2025, after 4 weeks of hospitalization and intensive treatment attempts, Eleanor Chambers was transferred to the Blackwood Psychiatric Institute in Montana, a specialized facility for trauma survivors. Dr. Eliza Blackwood, the Institute's director, implemented a gradual adaptation protocol that allowed Eleanor to slowly transition to normal environmental conditions while respecting her established patterns. Dr. Blackwood reported, "We created a controlled environment that initially mimicked aspects of the cave setting: dim lighting, minimal sound, simple natural foods. As Ms. Chambers demonstrated comfort, we gradually introduced additional elements of normal living. Progress has been extremely slow. After 3 months, she still demonstrates severe communication avoidance and social withdrawal." The investigation into the circumstances of Eleanor's disappearance and cave dwelling continued in parallel with her treatment. Analysis of her original research materials and the email exchanges with geologist Dr. Pierce suggested that Eleanor had deliberately sought out unexplored cave systems for her lichen research. The particular cave where she was found contained several rare species of fungus and lichen that grew in the entrance areas where minimal light penetrated. Dr. Pierce, when re-interviewed, stated, Eleanor had developed a theory about extremophile lichen species that might exist in Yellowstone's unmapped caves. She believed these organisms could have unique properties adapted to darkness and mineral-rich environments. She had mentioned finding references to cave systems in this region in old geological surveys that weren't on current park maps. The working theory developed by investigators suggested that Eleanor had intentionally sought out the cave for her research, possibly entering it during her hike on June 13, 2022. Evidence indicated she may have ventured deep into the system, becoming disoriented or trapped by a rockfall that was later documented in one of the narrower passages. This rockfall had subsequently been cleared, potentially by Eleanor herself over time, but may have initially prevented her exit. What remained unexplained was why, once able to leave the cave, Eleanor had chosen to remain. The calendar markings suggested she had maintained awareness of time passing and had survived with increasing competence in the hostile environment. Yet when finally discovered, she demonstrated no desire to return to her former life or human society. On September 15, 2025, a breakthrough occurred in Eleanor's treatment. Art therapist Maya Williams introduced natural pigments, similar to the minerals Eleanor would have encountered in the cave, and smooth stone surfaces for expression. Eleanor engaged with these materials, creating abstract patterns that evolved over sessions into more representational images. While still completely nonverbal, Eleanor began to communicate through these drawings. Dr. Blackwood's case notes describe the development. The images initially appeared random, but over time, developed recognizable elements. Ms. Chambers repeatedly drew what appears to be the interior of the cave with particular attention to specific formations. One recurring image shows a narrow passage with what seems to be light at the end. Another frequently repeated drawing shows a human figure in a fetal position surrounded by what look like sound waves or vibrations. On October 3, 2025, during an art therapy session, Eleanor produced her most detailed drawing yet, a complex rendering of the cave interior with a distinctive formation that geologist Dr. Chen was able to identify from the cave survey. The drawing showed this specific rock formation illuminated, with strange angular patterns throughout the chamber. At Dr. Blackwood's request, Dr. Chen revisited this specific chamber in the cave system. Dr. Chen's subsequent report stated, "The chamber Ms. Chambers depicted in her drawing has unique acoustic properties. When standing in the exact position indicated in her illustration, even the slightest sound creates complex harmonic resonances throughout the space. More significantly, at certain times of day, sunlight penetrates through a narrow fissure in the ceiling, creating the illumination pattern exactly as she drew it. The angle of light varies with seasons, and our calculations suggest this specific lighting pattern occurs only near the summer solstice." This discovery led to a new theory. Eleanor may have experienced something profound in this acoustic chamber, possibly coinciding with the summer solstice shortly after her disappearance. Whether this was a psychological break triggered by sensory phenomena, a spiritual experience, or some other transformative event remained unknown. Eleanor's parents authorized the creation of a recording of the cave chamber's acoustic properties, which was played for Eleanor during a controlled session. According to staff observations, Eleanor became completely still while listening, closing her eyes and placing her hands against the walls of the room. For the first time since her discovery, tears were observed on her face. However, she remained nonverbal. Robert Chambers, Eleanor's father, told investigators, "The Eleanor we knew is gone. Whoever or whatever she is now, she doesn't want to come back to our world. As her parents, we have to respect that she's made a choice, even if we don't understand it." As of December 2025, Eleanor Chambers remains at the Blackwood Institute. She has established a rudimentary form of communication through drawing, but continues to refuse speech or conventional writing. She demonstrates increasing comfort with controlled human interaction, but shows persistent aversion to technology, artificial light, and confined spaces with closed doors. Her physical health has improved substantially, though she maintains many of the adaptive behaviors developed during her time in the cave. The cave system where Eleanor was found has been secured by the National Park Service and designated as a restricted research site. Studies of the unique acoustic chamber and its properties are ongoing. Several of the lichen species Eleanor apparently discovered have been confirmed as previously undocumented, with one species officially named Xanthoria chambersii in recognition of her discovery. The FBI has officially closed its investigation, concluding that Eleanor Chambers entered the cave system voluntarily, survived there for 3 years through developed survival skills, and for reasons that remain her own, chose not to return to society even when physically able to do so. The case file notes that while Eleanor's complete story may never be known, there is no evidence of criminal activity or intervention by other persons. Dr. Blackwood's most recent evaluation states, "The conventional therapeutic goal of returning Ms. Chambers to her former life and functioning may be inappropriate in this unique case. She has experienced a profound transformation that appears to be permanent. Our revised objective is to help her establish a mode of existence that honors both who she was and who she has become. Whether she will ever choose to speak again remains entirely her decision." The last entry in Eleanor's case file includes a note from art therapist Maya Williams. Today, Eleanor drew something new, a human figure standing at the threshold between the cave and the outside world, with one foot in each realm. When I asked her which way the figure was moving, she didn't answer directly. Instead, she took a fresh stone and drew a spiral that connected both worlds. I believe this is her way of telling us that she no longer sees these as separate realities, but as a continuum of experience. She may never tell us in words what happened in that cave, but perhaps she's showing us that some experiences lie beyond the capacity of language to express.